the service learner with Cal State Monterey Bay for the Monterey County Free Libraries, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make pumpkin soup. And we're going to be using some leftovers from carving pumpkins on Halloween, actually. So I've saved both the pumpkin guts and the pumpkin shell. We're going to use both in our recipe. This is a really good way to cut down on food waste. I believe about I want to say 200,000 tons or something of pumpkin waste goes into the landfill from Halloween every year in America. So figuring out a way to eat your food scraps instead of throwing them away is a really good way to help the environment while also saving money. So yeah, let's get started. Okay. So for our ingredients, first you'll of course need some pumpkin. Like I said, these are left over from Halloween carving. I saved both the guts and the shell. I think this is about a pound's worth. And then you'll also need 3 medium-sized carrots or 2 large carrots. These ones are peeled already. I'm gonna cut them soon. Then you'll also need 2 onions. I like to use yellow onions when I cook, just because I find the flavors a nice mix between sweet and pungent. Let's see, you'll also need some olive oil, about a tablespoon's worth. You'll need some garlic. You can use fresh garlic. You'll need 4 cloves. I like to use pre-cut garlic because I'm a little lazy, so I'll be using 4 tablespoons of this. You'll also need a can of coconut milk, and I'm also going to use a little bit of heavy whipping cream just because I like mine extra creamy, but you don't have to add that on if you don't like yours as creamy. And then you'll also need 5 cups of stock. I'm going to be using this chicken stock. This actually only has 4 cups in it, so I'm going to make an extra cup because you'll need 5 cups. And then for the spices, you're going to need, I like to use pumpkin pie spice in mine. It's got a mix of cinnamon, ginger, lemon, nutmeg, cloves, and cardamom. I just love using this with anything pumpkin related, honestly. Sometimes I'll even just put it in my coffee. I just love fall spices. You'll also need some ground ginger, some cumin, and some allspice for that kind of warm flavor. And then some crushed red pepper. And then salt and black pepper to taste. You add as much as you want. For the rest of these spices, I think I'm going to add about a teaspoon of each one. Except the pumpkin pie spice, I might add a whole tablespoon because I just love the way it tastes. This is going to be a blended soup. So you'll need a hand blender of some sort. I'm using mine from Cuisine Art. If you don't have a hand blender, you can just use a regular large blender, but you'll have to transfer the soup ingredients to it, and then blend it, and then put them back in the pan. So it's a little harder. I find it a lot easier to use a hand blender. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so as you can see, I've already chopped my onion and I've added it to the pot with some olive oil. Next I'm going to add in the pumpkin and the carrots. And I'm going to turn it on to about medium heat. And I'm just going to stir it around in that olive oil so it gets nice and covered. And you can chop your produce pretty roughly because ultimately we're going to go in with our hand blender. You can hear it starting to sizzle. Now cover that, and we're going to let it simmer for about 6 to 8 minutes and let these veggies soften. So I've got a couple minutes left on these to steam, but something I wanted to mention was that you'll only want to add your hard shell parts of the pumpkin to this beginning part when you heat it up with the carrots and the onion. Because the gut part is a little too soft to do that with. So we're going to add this in later. So don't add this part quite in yet, but you could add the hard shell parts of the pumpkin while it's steaming here. Okay, so the veggies are looking pretty soft. So next we're going to add in our garlic. So If you're using fresh garlic, you want to use 4 cloves. I'm using this pre-minced garlic, so I'm going to add in 4 tablespoons. So you also want to add in all your spices right now. So let's start with some ginger. Again, I'm going to kind of eyeball all these, but the recipe says about a teaspoon per spice. So I cook enough that I can eyeball that pretty easily, but if you don't feel as comfortable eyeballing, you might want to measure it out. Now I'm putting in some crushed red pepper right now. A little more. I like mine spicy. Okay, and we've got our allspice. That one came out fast. Either that or I've got a heavy hand. Okay, next we've got our cumin. And then, last but not least, my favorite, the pumpkin pie spice. Okay, that should be pretty good on spices, so we're going to stir that in. And we're just going to let this cook for about a minute before we add in our liquids. Oh, it smells really good. We're going to add in our stock and our coconut milk and our pumpkin. So I guess I'll add the pumpkin first. Adding in my 5 cups of chicken stock. For the pumpkin, I think that was about a pound or so of pumpkin. Okay, there's in my chicken stock. I think I might rinse that around and get the rest of it out in a minute. And then the coconut milk. This a nice good stir. Ooh, it's starting to come together, huh? Okay, and we're gonna cover this and let it boil for about 15 minutes. So I'm gonna turn mine up to like 8 or so it doesn't come too fast to a boil. And then we'll let it simmer for 15 minutes after it reaches a boil. Next, after I take this off, I turn the heat off so it's cooling now. I'm going to go in with my hand blender and blend it all up so it's all one uniform soup instead of, you know, pieces floating in broth. Especially since we used pumpkin guts, we don't really want it to not be blended because pumpkin guts are very slimy and noodly on their own. But once they're blended, they're pretty good. So let's go ahead and take this off. Oh, it's smelling delicious. My whole house is going to smell like pumpkin now. Okay, so before I go in with my blender, I'm going to give it a stir. Okay, so the trick with hand blenders and not making a mess is that you'll want to put the blender in before you turn it on. If you put it on, or if you turn it on and then you put it in, it's going to fling soup and stuff everywhere. So you want to make sure you put the nozzle in first and then turn it on. So yeah, let's go ahead. So I've put it in there, and I'm going to turn mine to kind of low-ish right now just to begin, and then later I will progress and eventually turn it to high so it's very mixed. So yeah. Okay, it's starting to look really uniform. I think I'm going to turn it to high now just to make sure all the little chunks are blended. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to give it a taste test and see how it turned out. Ooh, it's really hot still, but it's pretty good. Oh yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so I'm gonna put these in a bowl and I'll show you guys the final product. So here's our finished bowl. I added some parsley and red pepper and heavy cream and black pepper on the top just to make it look nice and pretty. So let's have a taste. I'm pretty excited for it, not gonna lie. Okay, I'm gonna stir her around a bit. Ooh, that's really good. It's still really hot, but I'm quite happy with that. Oh yeah. All right, so I hope you guys try this out. I'm very happy with this recipe, and I feel really great knowing that I just saved about a pound of pumpkin from being thrown into the landfill, and I got a good meal out of it. So yeah, I really hope you guys try this recipe. It's super good, and it's a really easy way to cut down on your own food waste after Halloween. And you could even just buy a pumpkin for this use as well. I mean, there's so many pumpkins being grown this time of year. Any use of them will help. I feel like people don't really eat pumpkins enough, to be honest. So they're a super easy food to cook with, and they taste really good. I myself love pumpkin. I'm obsessed with it. I'm a pumpkin spice latte girl too. All right, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you try this out, and I hope you have a good fall. Goodbye.